Hey guys, quick update on this review. This is a review where I'm going to be making a lot of connections to other movies, and I understand that we're in a time, maybe we're always in the time, where it's hard to create something that's not going to remind someone somewhere else of something else. I just kind of wanted to let you guys know how this video was going to go. I am talking about the movie, different points and different things in the movie that I like, but I also was making a shit ton of connections to other movies as I was watching it, and I had a lot of fun doing that. This video will have a spoiler section, so there will be some things that I don't say right off the bat, and I'll allude to it later, and there will be chapters down below, hopefully to help you guys out. Without further ado, let's get on with the review. Cool movie. Cool fucking movie. So that was a really cool, freaky, and interesting movie. It reminded me of a few things. It reminded me of Parasite and The Wailing, which had me wondering if this director was even American because of the weirdness and the freaky factor this movie has. The movie has this adapted from a novel kind of feeling to it. The characters all have a certain surprising amount of depth to them, and the movie likes to take its time to sink into the world building. And I like how sometimes it draws out those more quiet, creepier moments, like something you'd see in the more recent It movies. At 2:17 in the early morning, kids from across the neighborhood flee from their homes with their arms outstretched in a bizarre fashion. They disappear into the darkness of the early morning with only some home security footage being the only evidence to record what happened. It's soon discovered that all the missing kids belong to a single classroom, which is now vacant, all except for one kid named Alex. Emotions are high and there's a subtle sense of chaos sown across the community. We follow a handful of characters, from tense parents to a questionable but well-intentioned teacher, a jaded policeman, and more, who all have their own perspectives and startling angles on what's really going on in their town. The premise on the surface, along with the gloomy atmosphere and imagery, reminds me of series such as Dark or The Outsider, which both are absolutely great shows you should watch if you're into that sort of mood. It also kind of reminds me of one of the older Ju-on movies, where the story is told like an anthology, broken down into segments or chapters that follow a specific character's daily routines, their experiences around the mystery, and the connections and discoveries made around that specific frame of time. There is a near all-star cast and a cameo that took me by a pleasant surprise. The actors all bring their characters to life with interesting flaws and dynamics, and it all helps to make this neighborhood feel not only more believable and lived in, but more interesting to watch how things play out and unfold. So it was good to see my boy Josh Brolin. He's an outspoken parent of one of the missing kids, and his personality is very much a doer and a go-getter. He's stoic but stubborn, and there's a vulnerability to him that makes him change shapes as the story goes along. I remember seeing Julia Garner first in Apartment 7A, an adaptation and retelling from the same novel that the movie Rosemary's Baby is based on. In it, she was vulnerable, tragic, and she had a twisted determination to her that made her a bit of a complex watch. She gave me notes of Black Swan. I think she likes to choose characters that are well-meaning and well-intentioned, but are complicated and are challenging characters in their own rights. Benedict Wong is Julia's boss in the movie, and he's very concerned for her since her classroom specifically is kind of the center of attention and the mystery.
We have a lot of emotional parents here. I think it's best if you keep some distance from this place.
He has this warm but stern presence that I'm just always happy to see. Since getting so used to seeing him in Marvel roles where he's very wholesome, it's nice to see him take a turn and try out something that's a little more into a darker territory. His relationship with Julia's character is a near spitting image of Rose's relationship with her boss in the first Smile movie. Their rapport and the vaguely similar discussions and outcomes they have sell it for me. Later into the film, we get to see another side of his performance that I was talking about, and it's quite terrifying. At that point in the film, his character is what really reminds me of the movie The Wailing. That's also a movie that, if you're familiar with that movie, that might be a little bit of a spoiler, but I'll explain more in the spoiler section. The child actor for Alex does a really fantastic job of playing a kid who's complex and just scared as hell and has the weight of the world on his shoulders. And there's that cameo that was a really pleasant surprise for me personally. If you've seen the movie Barbarian, this writer-director's last movie before this, you'll probably know who it is. Sometimes the movie can go from mysterious and moody to comedic relief. Then the movie starts to go from a really tense and drenched atmosphere in one moment, and then shifts into an all-out black comedy in the next. In my head, I'd go from, damn, this is creepy as hell, to, okay, this is kind of funny now. The context is still horrific, but a lot of the humorous parts, I love. They're the kind of things I can see me and my friends making fun of, making up horror scenarios or just making jokes while watching a movie. This movie does that. This movie likes to joke around and mess around sometimes before getting back into the atmospheric, moody creepiness. The movie is scary, but it's not really jump scary, if you know what I mean. It has its moments, but I thought it was more freaky, weird, and creepy all the way throughout. The movie carries this style to it. Its ability to sharply hit creepy territory, but also get decidedly weird and silly at times when it decides to. That aspect of it reminded me of Parasite, especially with its interconnecting web of characters, its tonal sways, and the way that movie handles its scarier, freakier aspects later in that film. That's why I was like, is this director American? Because this movie has like a decidedly weird tone to it that's not normally something I see in Western movies. I like it though. I like it. Cool movie. Cool fucking movie. Writer-director Zach Cregger is also the creator of 2022's hit thriller Barbarian, a layered story about a group of characters' entanglement with something lurking inside the house. The film also has some sharp direction, a distinct visual style, and a good use of dark humor that felt more cosmic, like the ironies of their situations are laughing at the characters for the predicaments they're in. He's also had a hand in the music heard in this film, the dry, ominous, heavy banging drum patterns that are hard to miss, especially when things ramp up in various scenes. So I really like when the movie does these creepy moments where a character is catching on to a strange, questionable detail, and the movie just kind of slows down and we follow the character into these situations, and I found it to be very nail-biting, kind of like that sequence in Barbarian where the main character goes into the basement and discovers that hidden doorway and she's slowly creeping into it. There's a few moments that gave me a similar sense of dread like that throughout this movie, and I loved it when the movie did that. Those sequences were really good at raising some more questions and just keeping my brain going on what was going on. Brolin's character has a really cool dream sequence that, oddly enough, stuck with me long after the movie ended. Its atmosphere and the otherworldliness really reminded me of The Lovely Bones, but like mixed with the Further. Without further ado, time to spoil the movie. First spoiler I'll get out the way is the Justin Long cameo. I'm a longtime fan of Justin Long since Jeepers Creepers, and I really enjoy seeing him in different horrors and comedies.
Alright, bitch. Get ready to get fucked.
He's the father to one of the missing children that Brolin's character comes to for help when his wife doesn't feel comfortable with helping herself. It's a little play on the whole go to the other parent joke, and that's about the extent of his cameo. You know, about halfway through, I really started to feel like this movie felt like Longlegs. And yeah, by the end, it really felt like Longlegs. It takes a turn at a certain point in its story that Weapons does as well. However, I feel like Weapons does it in a way that's a bit more satisfying for me, personally. I also liked when the main thing was happening in the movie, and whenever it happened throughout different times of the movie. Okay, now I want to talk about one of my most favorite, surprising, and wild aspects of the movie, the weapons themselves. The missing people are all trapped within their own bodies, and their bodies are forced to comply to some supernatural will due to the antagonist and her own witchcraft, and these lost souls are basically weaponized for whatever her bidding may be. Earlier I kept mentioning The Wailing in the same breath as Benedict Wong, and now I'm gonna explain why. However, I'll have to give a little bit away about the movie The Wailing itself, so bear with me. So there's a lot of freaky stuff going on in this movie, like ritual warfare that can either fight off a dark presence within someone or possess them and turn them into a literal zombie. Yes. This movie has one of my favorite depictions of zombies. I don't think that's what they're really called. That's just what I'm calling them because, you know, simple. Easy. Specifics? Sure, look up the wiki for specifics. Right now, zombies. This movie has one of my favorite depictions of a zombie. Human hosts possessed with some sort of darkness that turns them to these killing machines. There's some insane imagery, especially with all the kids running out the windows of that house, and it's just, oh my god, that last scene where the camera's just following the kids and it's just a herd of them just chasing her down, and their eyelids are like sucked into their head and their eyes are bulging out. You see, this is what happens when you don't fortify your mind. So that was a really cool, fucking wild movie. It's currently one of my favorite horror movies of the year. I think that's gonna be it for today, guys. I'm working on some projects right now involving Longlegs, Smile, and also Bring Her Back. And I'm really excited to get those out to you as soon as I can. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. For now, I am out.